Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of 3 minutes to get it. Today 3 minutes to get the Unix permissions. So first thing first, to understand Unix permissions, we need to understand what's accessing a file. And it's a process. It's always a process that is accessing a file. And we have one important information in this process to understand the permissions is the owner of the process. Only the owner. I don't need the other informations for now. To see what's the owner of a process, I can type in my shell the id command. If I type the id command, I would see my number, my name, and I will also have a group list and a member of those groups. The process is accessing a file and the process has the UID property. Now the permissions. I can see the permissions if I type ls-l, for example, and from the second character to the character number 9, I will have the permissions. Not the first one. The first one is the type of the file. For example, it's a dash when it's a regular file, it's a D when it's a directory, etc., etc. Then I can have rwx, r-x, r-dash. So we have three permissions here. We have rwx, and this combination of rwx is repeated 3 times. We have 3 kinds of users. Then I will say that my file, the owner of the file is admin. Here I can see the owner of the file is admin, and then the group of the file is will. If I'm the Eve user, I logged in as Eve. If I type ID, I can see that I'm Eve and I'm a member of the Eve group, and that's it. When the process accesses a file, there's a series of tests. First test is the owner of the process is the same as the owner of the file. If it's the case, it's the first 3 permissions that will be taken account, rwx in my example here. If it's not the case, the system will test is the owner of the process is member of the group of the file. If it's the case, then it's, in my example here, r-x that the process will be able to do with the file. If it's not the case, then it's the last 3, r-, here, that will be taken account. And this test happens each time a process opens a file. R means read. If I can read a file, I can access the content of the file. I can read the content of the file. W means write. If I have the write access, I can modify the content of the file. And X means execute. It means I can execute the file. I can create a process with the file. There's a tricky part with the directories, because in the directories case, it's a bit different. A directory is a list of files. So those permissions, read, write, X, happens with the list of files. If I can read the list of files, I can see the name of the files in the directory, but I can't access them. It's the X that gives me the access right to the files. If I don't have the X permission on a directory, I can't do anything with the files in the directory, even if they belong to me. The X permission of a directory is the most important one. And last but not least, the write permission on the directory. If I have the write, the write permission, I can modify the list. That means I can add files in the directory. That means I can modify the name of the files in the directory. I can rename those files, and I can delete files in the directory. That's important because that means that deleting a file, removing a file is not a property of the file. So that's how Unix permissions works. It's a very quick 3 minutes to get it, and I guess the next one will be about how to change those permissions. In the meantime, if you like that one, you can thumb up, you can subscribe. If you have any question, if you have any comment, you can put them in the comment part down below. And as always, I say to you, see you next week for the next episode of 3 minutes to get it. Bye!